The conditions of civilization. Definition. Geological conditions. Geographical, economic, racial, psychological, causes of the decay of civilizations. Civilization is social order promoting cultural creation. 4 elements constitute it: economic provision, political organization, moral traditions, and the pursuit of knowledge and the arts. It begins where chaos and insecurity end. For when fear is overcome, curiosity and constructiveness are free, and man passes by natural impulse towards the understanding and embellishment of life. Certain factors condition civilization and may encourage or impede it. First, geological conditions. Civilization is an interlude between ice ages. At any time, the current of glaciation may rise again, cover with ice and stone the works of man, and reduce life to some narrow segment of the earth. Or the demon of earthquake, by whose leave we build our cities, may shrug his shoulders and consume us indifferently. Second, geographical conditions. The heat of the tropics and the innumerable parasites that infest them are hostile to civilization. Lethargy and disease, and a precocious maturity and decay, divert the energies from those inessentials of life that make civilization, and absorb them in hunger and reproduction. Nothing is left for the play of the arts and the mind. Rain is necessary, for water is the medium of life, more important even than the light of the sun. The unintelligible whim of the elements may condemn to desiccation regions that once flourished with empire and industry, like Nineveh or Babylon, or may help to swift strength and wealth cities apparently off the main line of transport and communication, like those of Great Britain or Puget Sound. If the soil is fertile in food or minerals, if rivers offer an easy avenue of exchange, if the coastline is indented with natural harbors for a commercial fleet, if, above all, a nation lies on the high road of the world's trade, like Athens or Carthage, Florence or Venice, then geography, though it can never create it, smiles upon civilization and nourishes it. Economic conditions are more important. A people may possess ordered institutions, a lofty moral code, and even a flair for the minor forms of art, like the American Indians. And yet, if it remains in the hunting stage, if it depends for its existence upon the precarious fortunes of the chase, it will never quite pass from barbarism to civilization. A nomad stock, like the Bedouins of Arabia, may be exceptionally intelligent and vigorous. It may display high qualities of character, like courage, generosity, and nobility. But without that simple sine qua non of culture, continuity of food, its intelligence will be lavished on the perils of the hunt and the tricks of trade, and nothing will remain for laces and frills, curtsies and amenities, arts and comforts, of civilization. The first form of culture is agriculture. It is when man settles down to till the soil and lay up provisions for the uncertain future that he finds time and reason to be civilized. Within that little circle of security, a reliable supply of water and food, he builds his huts, his temples, and his schools. He invents productive tools and domesticates the dog, the ass, the pig, at last himself. He learns to work with regularity and order, maintains a longer tenure of life, and transmits more completely than before the mental and moral heritage of his race. Culture suggests agriculture, but civilization suggests the city. In one aspect, civilization is the habit of civility, and civility is the refinement which townsmen, who made the word, thought possible only in the civitas, or city. The word civilization, Latin civilis, pertaining to the civis, citizen, is comparatively young. Despite Boswell's suggestion, Johnson refused to admit it to his dictionary in 1772. He preferred to use the word civility. In the city are gathered, rightly or wrongly, the wealth and brains produced in the countryside. In the city, invention and industry multiply comforts, luxuries, and leisure. In the city, traders meet and barter goods and ideas. In that cross-fertilization of minds, at the crossroads of trade, intelligence is sharpened and stimulated to creative power. In the city, some men are set aside for the making of material things, and produce science and philosophy, literature and art. Civilization begins in the peasant's hut, but it comes to flower only in the towns. There are no racial conditions to civilization. It may appear on any continent and in any color, at Peking or Delhi, at Memphis or Babylon, at Ravenna or London, in Peru or Yucatan. It is not the great race that makes the civilization. It is the great civilization that makes the people. Circumstances, geographical and economic, create a culture, and the culture creates a type. The Englishman does not make British civilization, it makes him. If he carries it with him wherever he goes, and dresses for dinner in Timbuktu, it is not that he is creating his civilization there anew, but that he acknowledges even there its mastery over his soul. Given like material conditions, and another race would beget like results. Japan reproduces in the 20th century the history of England in the 19th. Civilization is related to race only in the sense that it is often preceded by the slow intermarriage of different stocks, and their gradual assimilation into a relatively homogeneous people. These physical and biological conditions are only prerequisites to civilization. They do not constitute or generate it. Subtle psychological factors must enter into play. There must be political order, even if it be so near to chaos as in Renaissance Florence or Rome. Men must feel, by and large, that they need not look for death or taxes at every turn. There must be some unity of language to serve as a medium of mental exchange. Through church, or family, or school, or otherwise, there must be a unifying moral code, some rules of the game of life, acknowledged even by those who violate them, and giving to conduct some order and regularity, some direction and stimulus. Perhaps there must also be some unity of basic belief, some faith, supernatural or utopian, that lifts morality from calculation to devotion, and gives life nobility and significance, despite our mortal brevity. And finally, there must be education, some technique, however primitive, for the transmission of culture. Whether through imitation, initiation, or instruction, whether through father or mother, teacher or priest, the lore and heritage of the tribe, its language and knowledge, its morals and manners, its technology and arts, must be handed down to the young as the very instrument through which they are turned from animals into men. The disappearance of these conditions, sometimes of even one of them, may destroy a civilization. A geological cataclysm or a profound climatic change, an uncontrolled epidemic, like that which wiped out half the population of the Roman Empire under the Antonines, or the Black Death that helped end the feudal age. The exhaustion of the land, or the ruin of agriculture through the exploitation of the country by the town, resulting in a precarious dependence upon foreign food supplies. The failure of natural resources, either of fuels or of raw materials. A change in trade routes, leaving a nation off the main line of the world's commerce. Mental or moral decay from the strains, stimuli, and contacts of urban life. From the breakdown of traditional sources of social discipline and the inability to replace them. The weakening of the stock by a disorderly sexual life or by an Epicurean, pessimist, or quietist philosophy. The decay of leadership through the infertility of the able and the relative smallness of the families that might bequeath most fully the cultural inheritance of the race. A pathological concentration of wealth, leading to class wars, disruptive revolutions, and financial exhaustion. These are some of the ways in which a civilization may die. For civilization is not something inborn or imperishable. It must be acquired anew by every generation, and any serious interruption in its financing or its transition may bring it to an end. Man differs from the beast only by education, which may be defined as the technique of transmitting civilization. Civilizations are the generations of the racial soul. As family rearing and then writing bound the generations together, handing down the lore of the dying to the young, so print and commerce and 1,000 ways of communication may bind the civilizations together and preserve for future cultures all that is of value for them in our own. Let us, before we die, gather up our heritage and offer it to our children.